Welcome everyone to another live stream. In this live stream, we're gonna be talking about the Jira for the Scrum Masters. Yes, and this is for all of the inspiring Scrum Masters that have been assigned to use Jira. This is mostly the tool you will be actually using on your work, and I'm here to actually guide you on step-by-step how to actually use the Jira and how to actually use it efficiently and not to be overwhelmed with all of the complicated stuff that actually comes up. Okay, so the very first thing is we're going to be creating our project. And for creating our project, we're obviously going to use Scrum. I'm not going to be explaining anything when it comes to the Scrum. You already know that, and possibly you are actually the certified Scrum Master, so I'm not going to be there to actually add something new. So we're going to be using this template. Now, I want to explain this. So you have options to either go for the team managed and the company managed projects. Now, what actually made you see is this part right here may be grayed out. And why is that? Because mostly your Jira administrators have disabled this option to, well, I will probably you will not have this because you're not the Jira, my mistake. And if you're also not gonna have this, that means you're not able to create your projects at all. But the thing is, team managed, company managed projects. So team managed projects, this is where you have a small team that you want to manage. You want to do everything by yourself. This means setting up the workflows, setting up the automation rules, doing the sprint retrospectives, connecting the Jira with the Confluence pages, and so on and so forth. Of course, as a Scrum Master, you would do these things anyway, except doing the workflows and doing the automations. If you already know how to do the workflows and automations, then this is even better. You don't have to go to your Jira admin and ask him to actually do this setup for you. So you can do this by yourself. Now, the thing is, team managed, it's much more simplified, and it's for the teams who want to do this by themselves. They want to have their own self-contained space, and that's it. Company managed, on the other hand, they have more options indeed. In the company managed projects, you can create more boards, for example. You can also manage everything that is based on the schemes. What this actually means, this means that permission schemes are being set up, workflow schemes are being set up. Within a team managed project, you don't have any of those things, and in the team managed projects, you can have one board per team managed project. So I'm gonna go for a company managed project. I'm gonna name this Scrum project. All right, so it's saying Scrum project. Okay, there we go. And it's gonna set your key in here. I'm gonna click on next, and this is gonna create our, in here. What you can actually also do is you can connect your space, but I will show you this from the project pages. Anyways, so this is your Scrum project. In here, you already have defined the active sprints. What this actually means that every time you create a project, when you create an issue, that issue won't go straightly to your active sprint. It will go back to your backlog. So in order to get it to the active sprint, you need to move it from your sprint backlog into your active sprints. And it's actually saying here, plan and start sprint to see work here. All right, So this is the very first thing that we're going to do. So this is your backlog indeed. Now, this right here is your product backlog, and in here you're seeing your sprint backlog. What you can actually do is you can create new sprints in here. There are no limitations of how many sprints you can actually create, so there is no limitation to that. So now the very first thing that we can actually do in here is you can add the dates. That is definitely possible. And it's now saying, first of all, you need to plan your sprint, and everything goes within the backlog. So we're defining all of the issues that will actually go within the sprints themselves. So first of all, let's say we have create a site layout, for example. Then we have define a tech stack, for example. Then we go for let's say meetings with stakeholders, and then let's say we have more of them. We have create a sign up page, for example. Okay, so all of this is within the backlog. Now if I want to go with this create site layout, I'm gonna have it within my sprint in here. And also I have, let's say, a create tech stack as well. So I'm moving it, I'm drag and dropping from my backlog into my sprint in here. Now this is what I have. And now what I can do is, first of all, I'm not done here. So what I want to do is for my site layout, I want to say, well, there's some things that first need to be defined, and those are the story points that are needed for this feature to actually be done. So if you're actually like this, you don't see your story points in here at all. So you don't see it, but in here they're actually appearing. So what happens when you click on the actions? You have to find your field, and in here we go for story points. Now this is what is happening. So first of all, two of the issues that we're actually having. So first of all is it's not within the scope itself, and then it's missing as the field screen. So we're gonna go for the configuration page. Now for going into the configuration page, so this right here, this is the place for your Jira admins. If you actually do not have access to this, you need to ask your Jira administrators to actually enable this field for them, so they for you as Scrum Masters, so you can actually fill this out. Why? Because this right here is actually a custom field. Now, so we have some default options in here. So first of all, we need to give a context for the story points. So in order to give the context for the story points, so we're going to select this. So first of all, we're gonna have this for task, for the story. We also have this, we're gonna have this for the bugs. Mostly that's gonna be it. Okay, now you wanna this applicable context to be applied to the issues under the select projects, because there's some projects out there that are not really using the Scrum board. They are actually using only Kanban. So I'm gonna modify this, and I'm done with this part right here. The second part that needs to be done is within the screen itself, we need to add story points. Okay. And now when I refresh this and when I go back to my backlog, and there we go, we have story points enabled. So let's say that for the site layout, well, this is something that needs a lot of the story points. We're gonna say 6, and what it has been done in here is automatically I have 6 story points, and in here you're going to see these 3 indicators. So the first one, this one is saying the not started, which is the leftmost column, and this actually has the 6 story points. This is then in progress, and this is something that is completed, which is done. And then it means, okay, we have completed this task that is worth of 6 story points. Then we have, for example, to define the tech stack, which is, well, let's say 8 story points. And there we have it. Now, I want to start a sprint in here. Okay, so when I'm starting the sprint, I can actually have what is going to be the name of this sprint. So I can say something like development phase 1, for example. So then there's the duration of 2 weeks. Probably this is going to also be the case for you, because you already know that the duration of the sprint shouldn't be longer than 2 weeks. But Jira actually gives you some options in here where you can say that it can be either 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or even custom. So this is, you can even define a custom duration. What happens in here is you can define your start date and you can define the end date. Let's go with 2 weeks. And also we have defining the sprint goal. We can say complete all of the tasks from this sprint without scope creep. Okay. Then we actually hit start, and this is what we have. Alright, so as you can see in here is we have to do, we have in progress, and we also have the done columns. Of course, this actually can be configurable, but you need to configure your workflows, and within your workflows you need to add more statuses, and then you need to map those statuses with the columns themselves in order to actually get more columns and the statuses, of course. But for the sake of this video, we're gonna be using only to do, in progress, and done, in sake of simplicity. All right, so as you can see, we have to do, in progress, and done. Let's say that now we have this that is in progress, and we also need an assignee. In this case, it could be me, but probably you're going to have more people within the specific project. Of course, the priorities can be changed as well. So you can also have your own custom filters, and you can say, okay, I want to see all of the issues that are with the high priority in here, so I can be focused on them specifically, or those who have the blockers, and so on and so forth. Because we as Scrum Masters, when there are some kind of blockers, we need to do everything that is in our power to actually remove those blockers away. That is indeed interesting. Now what happens is, if you actually try, so if you actually try to, let's say, create a new one, let's say I'm gonna say define a scope creep nightmare for every Scrum Master, right? Yeah, in here you can indeed create this, and you can add it to your uh, active sprint board, but this is not a recommended thing to do because within your reports you're gonna have some problems. So you need to avoid having a scope creep as much as possible. So let's say we don't need it, this is moved to done, but I don't have any specified story points, so basically this really doesn't count. So what happens if I go here and if I say something like meeting the team? No problem with that. And also I can say one story point. I can say, yep, this already has been done. And that's it. If I go back to my backlog right here, and it's saying that I'm having these two that are completed, and I have one story point which is completed, but it's saying I have one of 15 story points that I need to complete within this specific sprint. Okay, so what happens now is you can also have some of the quick filters, and let me show you how you can actually create more of these filters. Now, before you do this, in order to do this, you actually need to be the board administrator in order to create your quick filters. If you cannot do that, you need to ask your Jira admin to do this for you, to create a quick filter for you, so you can actually see all of the issues within this specific projects that are on the high priority. All right, so we go for quick filters, and quick filters are only based on the JQL, which is the Jira query language. It's almost like SQL, but it is using different keywords, different parameters than the traditional SQL. So I'm gonna name this high priority issues. So first I'm going to define the project. I'm gonna go with equals, then I'm gonna look for my Scrum project in here, and I'm gonna be using priority, and then another space equals to high. Great. Okay, this actually has been created, and when you go for your quick filters, so I can go and be like show quick filters, and when I do this, I can only see one issue in here. Why is this? Because only this issue has a high priority. In order to clear those filters, you can click it back. Okay, that's good. That's very interesting. Daily stand-ups. Interesting thing is, for the daily stand-ups, that what you can actually do is, well, basically in Kanban, and I don't know why, there is a feature that is named start a daily stand-up. When you do this, what actually this does, a stopwatch is being started, and your board with the issues is actually being shown. Why the stopwatch is being started? Because Scrum Master needs to be there, and when there is like when something is like over 15 minutes, they need to be like, okay guys, let's maybe discuss this through Slack more, and let's get this done, let's go back to work. That's one of the things. So daily stand-ups. Okay, what else do we have? We also have the complete sprint. Okay, this is what is happening. So it's saying that it contains 2 completed work items and 2 open work items. So it's saying that completed work items includes everything on the last board, and open work on the left one. So what happens in here is, what you can actually do is you can move your items either to a new sprint or either to a backlog. And then you have this check mark that it's saying you can finish and you can have your retrospective of a specific sprint. And I'm going to say, yeah, let's go with that. And now it's gonna ask for my Confluence in here. And within my Confluence, it's gonna ask me for a so you can go for the space and parent items. So there's like whiteboard retrospective or a live doc retrospective. What is the difference in here? So the difference in here is with the live doc retrospective, anyone who has access to it, into your Confluence space, they will be able to contribute in the real time, and you as a Scrum Master can actually see those changes in real. So if I go with the live doc retrospective, this is what I'm going to see. So you can see this from Jira. You don't have to actually leave your Confluence. But if I go like opening Confluence in here, retrospective, and it is also giving you this option in here to actually have your template. So you don't have to start from scratch. You can say, okay, and instead of having start doing, stop doing, keep doing, you can have like went well, didn't go well, and you can say something like questions, and you can say something like suggestions, and so on and so forth. And we can write, and I can say what went well. Everyone from the team worked towards this sprint goal. There were some delays, for example, and then you can say, okay, these are the action items, and you can say, you can mention other users in here. Please check the Google Meet invite, for example, and so on and so forth. And there you go. So this is live doc. You can make updates instantly without having to publish this. And this is interesting. No need for the publishment. You just use it. And when you're actually done, you just move away from it. And that's it. But the thing is, what is important is that it's being automatically saved. And you can see all of the changes that happened in the meantime. That's good. So this is how you can actually use Jira with Confluence in order to manage your retrospectives. And as you can see in here, then we have another sprint that is incoming. When you go back to the active sprints, we don't have anything because we haven't started our sprint yet. So we're gonna start the sprint, we're gonna start it, and there we go. It's already in there. All right, well, we also have the options for the reports themselves. So in Scrum, of course, you're gonna have more options for the reports, just like the burn down, burn up chart. You also have the sprint report. You also have the velocity chart. So you can, if you want to go with the velocity, and there you go. And you're saying what is the commitment, what has been completed, what is the average, and it's saying the commitment was 14 story points and the one has been actually completed, and there's the average one. Not really the ideal reporting here. Okay, then we also have the option for the sprint report. Ops Genie alerts: in the future, Ops Genie is going to be deprecated as the product, so it's not gonna be used. This is something that is interesting the for you guys. Is you can see this status report where you have the completed issues, issues that are not completed, how many story points of them there are, what is the priority, what is the issue type, and so on. Of course, there are options to go for the burn down chart, burn up chart, up, and you can actually see how is it being changed from time to time. What is the work scope defined as well? What was the event type? And it's saying that sprint started. And those are mostly all the things that you're gonna be focused on as the Scrum Master. Okay, this was the course on Jira for the Scrum Masters. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next